In a small town shrouded in the mist of forgotten stories, there lived a woman named Tara. Her days, much like the tranquil, winding river that kissed the edge of her community, flowed with predictable calm. Each morning, she would settle at her kitchen table, cradling a steaming cup of coffee, staring at the paper where the real world wove itself into ink and columns of text. Yet, beneath the gentle routine, there lay an undercurrent, an anxiety that thread its way like an unseen current through her life. It was the quietly persistent worry of balancing numbers, of making ends meet, of the month's end when bills would arrive like uninvited guests at a party that could ill afford them. One evening, as the sun dipped below the wooded hills, leaving behind a dusky farewell, Tara opened yet another envelope. Inside was a bill as ordinary as the others, except, glinting under the porch light, it wore a larger, more menacing number. She frowned, eyebrows knitting together like storm clouds. It spoke in cryptic terms of an agreement she supposedly knew, but the past it alluded to seemed nothing but mist and shadows in her memory. In a world that was fast becoming more digital and bewildering, Tara found herself tangled in the tendrils of a contract she barely recalled signing. Life had been full of its own travails back then, and now, amidst a litany of duties and dreams, this contract re-emerged like a phantom of her past, brandishing figures she could scarcely fathom. It held an air of ominous authority, each number stamping upon her heart with the weight of its demands. As the days passed, the bill's threat grew not just in words but in presence, a specter lingering at the corners of her consciousness. Each day, as she went about her tasks, it was there, gnawing at her peace, whispering. She sought to tackle it through calls painted with the desperation of someone holding tight to a sense of justice and understanding, only to meet the faceless tones of polite resistance, assuring her that everything was as it should be. But was it? In the shadows of official language, Tara perceived something more sinister at play. Here was a world where contracts and signatures wove a web, intertwining legality and deceit. It seemed crafted with a precision that danced on the edge of deception, enough to confound the naive, but not quite breaking the surface of legalities that would render it void. How many others were caught in this subtle net, she wondered, hushed souls lacking the means or the voice to challenge? They were locked into the silence of involuntary submission, the ink of their signatures a silent chain binding them to invisible terms. One late afternoon, the window was splashed with amber light, its warmth holding at bay the chill of early autumn. Tara sat amidst piles of scattered papers, the detritus of battles fought against the rigid, unseen hands of corporate contracts. The room smelled faintly of aged wood and ink, an archive of her struggles. Determination tightened the lines around her mouth. It was not defiance that fueled her now, but a longing, a fierce, unyielding craving for clarity and truth. Reaching out to others, she found similar stories, tales of contracts that lingered like forgotten dreams, once convenient shadows now looming large and demanding. These were lives tethered by strange agreements, where time seemed a malleable concept and every call for justice echoed hollow. Each new story she heard struck like a hammer at the anvil of her frustrations, forging in her a clarity of purpose. Tara embarked on a journey, not one of geography, but of understanding. She burrowed into the minutiae of contracts, their legalese like an ancient cryptic tongue. Allies emerged in unlikely places, a retired librarian with a penchant for justice, a junior lawyer firing up his career with youthful fervor, and the taciturn clerk whose worn eyes saw more than they ever let on. Together, they formed an unassuming bat, Talion, standing firm against what seemed a system driven by profit, sewn into a patchwork of obscure texts and implied threats. They scrutinized her contract beneath the barn's low light, fingers tracing timelines and conditions, teasing out the loose threads of deception with tenacity inherited from the generations that tilled the very earth they sat upon. And then the moment came, a revelation as sharp and clear as the first breath of a dawn wind. In the labyrinth of words and numbers they discovered the flaw, the misstep that unraveled the all-powerful contract's facade, exposing it for what it truly was, a ruse. Here, written with ever so subtle incidental ink, was evidence of missteps and misuses, a paper trail not unlike footprints in the sand that told the tale of avarice masked in officiality. With newfound faith stoking her courage, Tara faced the corporate entity with the calm confidence of one armed with truth. Her mind a fortress against the intimidating scripts of towering officials, she asked questions with the clarity of a mountain spring, challenged every evasive hint with the certainty of the earth herself. And in the telling silence that followed, they had no recompense but to yield to her patience and righteousness. The resolution, when it finally arrived, was a strange combination of subtlety and power. A quiet apology, a corrected sum, a sudden cease to the incessant demands of a contract's ghostly hold. Tara emerged into the sunlight of a winter's morning feeling simultaneously lighter and more substantial. She had not just conquered a fiscal obstacle, but had reaffirmed a right foundational to existence itself, the right to clarity and fairness. And so, the world continued to unfold around her, rich and textured in its complexity. Tara knew she was but one voice, yet in her triumph lay the echo of many. The tale she had lived was not just hers. It was for every soul who had feared the authority embedded in paper and pen, who lay awake charting escape routes through the night's curtain. As life poured into its regular rhythms once more, Tara kept the lesson close, a quiet talisman against future trials. She knew, at the core of it all, lay the simplest of truths, that every signature bore not just an obligation, but a promise from those in power, a promise she had held to account. And that, perhaps, was the strongest signature of all. In the months that followed, Tara became an unexpected symbol of resilience within her community. Her story resonated far beyond the confines of her neighborhood, echoing through articles, discussions, and even in classrooms that explored civic courage. It wasn't long before local universities invited her to speak, asking her to share her experience and the underlying lessons with eager young minds. They listened intently, captivated not just by her words, but by the conviction in her voice. At each event, Tara spoke candidly about the value of understanding one's rights and the power that arises from collective action. She encouraged others to engage with their communities, emphasizing the importance of standing united in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Her narrative was more than personal triumph. It was a call to action, a testament to what could be achieved when fear was quelled by the pursuit of justice. As seasons changed, so did Tara, evolving from a reluctant champion into a passionate advocate. She continued to work closely with local organizations, offering her time and energy to promote change where it was most needed. People who had once felt voiceless now found inspiration in her journey. This shared empowerment became the enduring legacy of her fight, transforming individual struggles into a collective force capable of changing destinies.